Hello and welcome to DEE Kai, Digital Era Entertainment's weekly anime podcast. This is episode number 165. I'm one of your hosts, Joel, and joining me live on the line is Jace. How's the week been treating you, Jace?
Not too bad. We're getting some much needed rain, but it's wreaking havoc on my head. So I haven't been able to watch a lot of anime because I've been either at work or dealing with a migraine.
Ugh, well, that's no fun. I haven't watched, I'm not behind on anime. I have kept up largely with things. I have, 3, 4 episodes that have aired that I haven't watched yet, but I don't have anything that has more than one aired episode that I haven't gotten to. And it's certainly easier to do that this season because I'm now down to, I believe, 8 shows that I am watching that are currently airing. I wound up dropping Horimiya, The Missing Pieces. The big issue with that one was it was side stories, and I knew that going in, that this was not a season 2. They did bill that very properly, unlike Ranking of Kings season 2, which was billed as, the sequel when it was actually just side stories. And it was that type of situation again here. And I tuned in seeing, all right, would there be enough material there, meat on the bone, to make it worth watching? And it was fine if you enjoyed Horimiya and you really just want one of the best rom-coms, top to bottom, really. More so leaning on the romance, but in a very sweet, good, healthy way that I will continue to tout Horimiya as one of the healthiest rom-com shows that we've gotten and just one of the realest. So if that is to your taste, if that is what you're in the mood for, and you are okay with just some vignette slice of life type things, not expecting any real progression, this is still worth your time. And it's just not really what I was feeling, but I will continue to
Yeah.
say that this is absolutely worthwhile if that is what you are in the mood for. So this is not a knock on Horimiya, The Missing Pieces. It's just, I've always got a lot on my plate, and I'm letting myself cool down, making it so I'm not forcing myself to watch shows that I'm not really into. And the fact that it just happens to be a bit of a lighter slate this season, that's fine. It means that I'm going to help prevent a bit of burnout, if anything, because I certainly didn't get at risk of burnout last season, but last season was just so much, and it was good. It was very good,
Yeah.
but it was a lot. So I'm kind of relieved that after that, not slog, but just intense season where there was so much and I was scrambling to keep up, that now I can just sort of coast along, tune in here and there, and that by the time fall rolls around, I'm sure I'll be craving to have a lot more to watch again. So I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. And the other one that I dropped, which it's kind of frustrating because I wanted to like the show, and it's another case of it's not a bad show. I dropped Gene of AI.
Really?
It just, for whatever reason, didn't feel like it was as engrossing or going as far, frankly, as I'd hoped. That after 4 episodes, there was really only so many ways that you can ask, all right, where does the line lie between human and robot? Where is sentience? Where is actual life? And the
Yeah.
first couple times it was interesting, and it was not uninteresting as it got to the 4th iteration, but it also just didn't feel as significant when we're talking about this doctor becoming a toy repair service. Yes, it was sweet. The little arc that they had there, goodness, the little arc that they had there was interesting, but it wasn't actually that compelling, frankly.
Mm,
And
mm.
I can tell that they're teasing some things behind the scenes that they're trying to build up to a more central plot. And maybe I'll go back to it if it turns out, all right, these were just the really slow opening episodes, and that around episode 6, it just picks up and becomes a lot more linear and not just this is the tale of the week and this is the
Yeah.
conundrum. Where is the line between humanity and AI of the week? If they actually start having true progression, maybe I'll go back to it. But again, it just wasn't enough to make me want to tune in, that I realized at episode 4 that I was feeling obligated to tune in, especially on this one, because it's such a good cerebral concept. It's an interesting concept. It's touching on themes that you don't get every season. So, like I said, I wanted to like it. This is one that I was initially eyeing of, all right, is this, top 10 of the year material potentially? And if it really hits it out of the park for you, Jace, I'm not going to full on veto it come the end of the year. But for me, this was more of a whiff than anything.
Yeah, it's a little slow. But it's a slow season, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, I mean, where I haven't had a chance to watch the newest episodes of everything that I'm watching, um, this gives me a little bit of a reprieve because I've been kind of bouncing back and forth between watching a couple episodes, watching, and then like watching weekly. Couple episodes,
Yeah.
watching weekly. And I've been also fitting other stuff in because like I believe I mentioned last week I finished Summertime Rendering,
Hmm.
and that was a ride.
Yeah, that's
Um
one I do need to get to. I still
so
have
maybe since
queued.
this is a light season,
Hmm.
you'll have a chance to catch up on it since both the sub and dub are completely out now too.
Yes,
So
that the two I have queued to watch on Hulu are Summertime Render and Tokyo Revengers, and I've mentioned this, and I've, like I said, been
well, new
enjoying.
season coming this fall for Tokyo Revengers too.
Yeah,
So
so I do need to actually really get to that one. And like I said, after the intensity of the spring season, I'm just letting myself coast a little bit right now, which is why I
yeah,
haven't jumped into those two quite yet. But I'm getting the feeling that in a couple of weeks, I'm going to start having that itch again and we'll end up getting to it. But for now, I know they're there and I will get to them. And these are two that I actually do truly plan because sometimes I say, oh, maybe I'll get to it. These are two I very specifically want to get to because Tokyo Revengers was so solid in season one, and Summertime Render, obviously, it's one that it's done by OLM. It looked
yep.
from the trailer like something that is right up my alley, just from the little themes and the little bits and pieces
It
that I saw. The one thing that
it
I will
is
have
a
to say,
modern day Lovecraftian horror series.
I'm very
I
excited.
loved it,
Don't say anything more. The
and
one thing
that's
I will
all I'm gonna say.
sadly the one thing I will have to sadly slash happily remind you of is that Summertime Render will not be eligible for our Anime of the Year awards because good friend and one of the original hosts of this very podcast, Emmy Lowe, plays the female lead. And as the shorthand for it has become the Emmy rule, it was something that we
Yeah,
decided during the first year when she had a couple roles of just we are not comfortable ranking anything where a friend of the channel has a major role. If it's, supporting character, if there's a cameo, if it's a bit part, whatever, we'll still count that. But if it is leading lady material, that's going to be something where it's just, even if it's an amazing show, it just feels a bit too awkward for us to really say and to
yeah,
rank against other things because of that inherent bias and also just wanting to do right by our friends. So
yep,
we always will give a shout out usually in the
yep,
opening part of the Anime of the Year video saying, hey, here are the things that were disqualified and they're great and you should check them out. And we might even highlight one or two saying, last year, the video actually never got out because things came up. But for
yeah,
Cyberpunk Edgerunners, we had a whole thing of Cyberpunk Edgerunners is really good. And there's a lot of places that are calling it outright the anime of the year. They're not necessarily wrong. We do not feel comfortable making that decision, but go watch it.
yep,
And I'm sure that's where we will fall ultimately on Summertime Render. I have really not heard anything bad about it. So, looking forward to getting to that. But for today, we are going to be doing what is now the third in our mini side series. We like to do this about once every season or two because it's really a layup for us, frankly. It's something when we don't have anything top of mind that we can just go to because we realize it's a lot of fun. We're going to be going back and rereading some old Newtype USA. And you actually went out of your way, Jace, to pick something that was close to where we are in the year, that this is a September issue of the magazine,
yep.
even though we are in August right now. That's close enough.
Typically issues kind of came out like a month before. Like if you were subscribed, you'd get the September issue usually like mid late August. You know,
Yeah.
so
Good
so
old print delay.
yep, or print advance
Yeah,
rather,
because
since
they're trying to beat the delay and account for
yeah,
distribution
you'd
because a
find
lot
the
of
September issue in stores September 1st, but if you
mhm,
subscribed, you usually got a little bit earlier.
exactly. And a lot of that has to do with distribution and just logistics because a
Yep.
lot of newsstands, a lot of magazine stores back in the day, if the printed month for your magazine has passed, they would take it off of shelves. This is something that you
Yep.
see a lot in retail as well. For instance, Magic the Gathering, whenever they had their core sets, the number of the year for the core set would always be the following year because big
Yep.
box stores won't stock a 2023 product in 2024. So if
Yep.
you're releasing that product in the summer of 2023, it only has a 6-month shelf life, and they wanted it to have an 18-month shelf life. It's obviously not quite to that extent for magazines, but what they would do is if it's hitting the shelves on September 1st, that means it has the full month, and that sometimes they'd even get a bit ahead of it of, okay, this is, if it's hitting late August, we'd rather have it a couple days beforehand because the retailers will still have it. But as soon as it hits October, that most of the places are just going to go up and down their shelves and say, all right, anything that says September, take it off, pull it, or put it in the bargain bin. We're not going to give it, even if it's still on the shelves, it's going to be put back a couple rows. It's no longer going to be front and center because that is in the past. So
Yep.
this is going to be perhaps representative of what you would get in your mailbox or hopefully in your newsstand right about this time. So let's go on and get that video up and let's go down memory lane for September 2003.
Yep. So as you can see here on the cover, we got Mobile Suit Gundam Seed, which was quite the hot show in the early 2000s.
And what's going to
Other
make this interesting is this is September 2003, but it is 2003 for what is hitting stateside. So
Yep.
anything that's hitting stateside is going to be in all likelihood anywhere from 1 season to 1 year, maybe even more depending on the property delayed.
Oh yeah,
So in
definitely.
actuality, we're kind of looking earlier than actual
Yeah.
September 2003, but let's see what we've got here.
Okay, and the DVD featured the Clamp series Angelic Layer.
What does that say in there for the corner? Inside
Inside
Satellite?
Satellite. Michiaki Sato charts the company's rise while director Kazuki Akane discusses his recent projects Gene Shaft and Heat Guy J.
What is Satellite? Is that a studio?
That was a studio.
Huh.
I think they're still around too. So we got some ads here. Sakura Wars, the movie.
Sakura Wars, very nice.
Yep. And then oh man, Borders and Walden Books.
Borders, I remember. Walden Books, maybe it was a regional thing that I've heard of Walden Books.
They
There were
bought out
not
Walden
any.
Books. Basically, Borders were the big box stores, and Walden Books were usually like inside malls and stuff like that.
Also, doing a quick glance through of Studio Satellite's works, that there are several I've been aware of, and you are correct that it is still active today. They're responsible for Fairy Tail, Macross Frontier. Let's see here. Bodacious Space Pirates. Log Horizon, one of my personal favorites. Macross Delta. So they've done various Macross series. Symphogear, which is sort of a Macross spin-off. They did Rokudo's Bad Girls, actually.
Yep. So, and of course, it's funny too, looking just at some of the manga here. So we got Shaman King, one of my all-time favorites. Cell Saga, another all-time favorite.
Dot Hack,
Legend
classic.
of
FLCL,
Legend of Twilight's Bracelet.
classic.
Boom.
Very nice. Yeah, FLCL, another classic. And now, not
And
a
now.
classic.
So
I'm not even familiar with now.
that's a
He looks
manhwa.
like-
That is
Really?
Yep,
Also-
Sungwoo Park.
How about that? Also, look at that character and tell me that doesn't look like Kisuke Urahara from Bleach.
I can kind of see it a little bit.
It's the hat. Or is it? Maybe it's not a hat. No, so the screen that I have on, the way that the hair and the ribbons are, it sort of looked like Urahara's hat because it had stripes in a way. It's probably looking a lot clearer to you because you're not looking through a
It's
screen.
kind of hard to tell because it's such a small image.
Also, I will take slight offense. Go back to the page. I need to point out something. Comic Sans, why? Like the rest of this layout's pretty clean. I don't necessarily agree with
Sans adjacent. I don't think that that's the
Maybe.
exact Comic Sans.
Yeah.
I think that they looked for something that was similar to your typical typesetting font
Mm,
that you would use for word bubbles and stuff
yeah.
in comics and manga and
I
whatnot.
have mixed feelings about
Um,
capitalization of every single word as if it was a title in and of itself.
Almost
I'll get
every
over
single
that.
word. I mean, because shojo and
Yeah,
shonen,
that
and then it
you
looks like they
generally
use the
don't.
same S for some,
Mhm.
because
No,
and them is not.
I'm mostly looking at the normal type font for Find This Fall's Must Have
Oh
and
wow,
discover
yeah.
our amazing manga selection of every single that I can accept the Shoujo Shonen and then some because that is sort of a title. That's the headline at the very least.
Yeah.
But then the other things having a capital letter for each letter, for each word, eh,
What I
not
will
a
point
but
out
frankly,
too,
I think that is less offensive than whatever the frick type of font they use for the title.
what I will point out here is this was Pioneer publishing Sakura Wars the movie.
Mm,
I believe ADV published the TV series. Uh, so we have our prices here. Look at that limited edition DVD, $40. It's
not a bad
regular
price.
edition, $30.
This is a movie, you're not getting a full season or anything, but it
Yeah.
comes, with a fair bit, so not a unreasonable price.
Oh, DVD extras, art gallery, movie trailers, TV commercial trailer. This had 5.1 English and Japanese surround.
Yeah, we are getting into proper
So
2000s here. We have some quality.
here we got our table of contents for the issue. An
Yes,
ad
initial
for
D, which is
Tokyo
relevant
Pop
for now.
Publishing Initial D.
Initial D being relevant once again because what is it? Ghost
MF
something or other.
Ghost.
Ghost. Thank you. Yes, will be airing next season, the successor to Initial D.
I
But
know that just because a friend of mine is a big Eurobeat fan and was like, yo, check it out. Dave Rogers got a new song. And it was called MF Ghost. And I went, okay, I'm not a betting person, but I'm willing to bet that that is the theme for MF Ghost. He's like, what
mhm.
is MF Ghost? I'm like, you're an Initial D fan and you hadn't heard that this show was coming out? But yeah,
Well, I've got
Initial
good news
D.
for you.
Yeah. Uh, so anyway, and on to the giveaways. Woo!
Yes,
It's,
this was a mainstay of Newtype, and it was something that certainly wasn't unexpected or overly rare in terms of magazines, especially niche ones like this. But I will
yeah,
say that the giveaway suite that Newtype had was actually rather robust. And
yeah,
you have all these different things, and naturally, the way that I assume these all work, these are all sponsored things. They were given
yeah.
this product by the different companies because these are all tantamount to ads right now that you are
Basically,
going to
yeah.
get eyes naturally are going to go to the giveaway section, and these are all ads. These are all print ads of their own type, and that they just got shipped, I assume, to the new type offices to then be shipped to whoever wins. But this would not have been something I expect that would have been a cost to new type, that this would not have been something that they would have to allocate budget for. If anything, they may have gotten paid to do this, of not only
I
would they
mean,
be getting the product, but they may have had to pay of, all right, do
case in
does the
point,
company.
one of the funnier things is New Type was published by ADV, and right here is Sailor Moon R box set, which was this version of Sailor Moon release was published, I believe, by ADV actually in that box.
So it also just counts for them, obviously, as their own advertisement. I would assume that they have some external products here, but
Yeah, because
this
I mean, we
naturally
got
also is
Tokyo
going to
Pop
be a great.
manga,
Mhm.
we have Bandai visual here.
Infinite
So
Rivius. I've
yep,
never
Infinite
heard of
Rivius.
that.
I think that that might have aired on G4 Tech TV back in the day, if memory serves correctly. They aired some of Bandai's shows, a few of them. But that is a tale for another day, talking about other niche programming blocks.
Hmm.
More advertising.
Kinokuniya Classic, obviously still alive
Yep,
and kicking today. This being their older logo. It's been a while
yep.
since they had the hooked O's.
It's, Diamond Comic Distribution.
Ooh, that's I'm pretty sure gone, or if it's still around, it's not a very loud brand. But then
Yeah.
again, distribution companies are seldom very loud. That uh, those are the ones behind the scenes that you don't necessarily know are in constant contact with your local bookstore or
Yeah.
nowadays selling via Amazon or wherever they might have it.
So I remember seeing the ad there. I used to draw back in high school, and the Copic markers. Always wanted them, could never afford them.
Mm.
So it's a use what the manga artists use.
Diamond Comics is still active. It is actually Diamond Comic Distributors.
Yep.
Interesting. Hmm. Their
Alrighty.
website
So
does look like it's something from I'm seeing updates as recently as May 19th, 2023, so it's still very much active. But I will say that this website layout looks like something from 2012, 2016-ish. This is
mm,
not super neat. But then again, for a business website, this doesn't necessarily need to be super stellar. This actually probably does quite fine for their type of business, being a
yeah.
distributor and not a retailer.
Mm, mm.
A Warrior's Resolve, Mobile Suit
So
Gundam Seed.
yep. So this was currently airing in Japan at the time. I think we started seeing this stateside in 2005, maybe, if memory
Let's
serves
check.
correctly.
Mobile Suit Gundam Seed began airing October 2022 through September 27th, 2023. So this was right around the time of the finale, that being the anime as it aired originally in Japan.
Yeah.
For US release, I'm going to see if I can find anything here, but let's keep going in the meantime.
Yep. So we have a little thing showing off our main characters here. Um, Young warriors on the path they believe in, their journeys of self discovery. It's, just more rundown of characters.
It was licensed by Bandai and
Yep.
was produced in association with the Ocean Group, actually, which was known for doing some of the early works on Dragon Ball Z. It was released in 10 DVDs starting on August 10th, 2004 to
Okay.
May 10th, 2005. So a little bit under a year. I'm not seeing if it was actually. Gundam Seed had to have been broadcast stateside on Toonami or something,
It
I
did
thought.
air on Adult Swim, I believe.
Okay, that would make sense.
So yeah, more rundowns of all the characters.
Ah, yes, here it is. No,
Um,
interesting. Adult Swim in Australia, it was Toonami in the US.
okay, so it was Tsunami in the States. Okay. Um, and then we got this lovely character rundown just showing you like
Relationship
the
chart.
relationship chart here and uh interview here, brief little section about the opening and ending with Nami
Oof, you
Tamaki.
can see it. One thing that I consider pretty emblematic of Newtype is that they kept a lot of what they did from the Japanese release of Newtype and just translated it and pretty much one for one the layout. And
Yeah.
while for the most part, what you would get in the body text would be pretty good in terms of English, the titles and subtitles are so blatantly just word for word translated. Those
Yeah.
who realize their wishes is not the title that somebody who has English as their first language, or at the very least, someone who is writing a title for English language release would write.
Yeah. Also of note is also just looking at the translation of some of the character names. They are
Their
not
divided
the
paths will converge. That this the grammatical structure of their something action that the heroes will clash,
yeah.
and just it's a subtle thing that if English is your first language, it will read just a little bit weird, and you can understand it. It's not egregious, but this is something that if it was in English, you'd probably drop the there and just go with divided paths will converge once again and probably drop
Mm,
the in space, or maybe divided paths will converge in again in space.
yeah.
That it's such a subtle thing, but the there and if you go back, because I actually think it's a similar grammatical
The
thing.
young warriors on the path they believe in, their journeys of self-discovery.
Their journeys of self-discovery. It would be the journeys of self-discovery of young warriors or something along those lines. That the there is,
Yeah.
I think, the remnant of the translation.
So what I was noting is the fact that this was, of course, before this was licensed and published in the States by Bandai. So as a result,
Oh, you have the
the
original
character
names here, you don't
names
have the
are
translated
spelled
names.
in their original direct from Japanese
Oh,
translation.
look at that
They
double S
haven't been, yeah.
I.
There are some really interesting spellings that I remember going, huh, this is not what their name was when the final product came out
Oh,
stateside.
goodness. Raw de Cluez, Flay Alistair,
Yeah,
Moo La Flaga,
yeah.
dangerously close to Uwu.
Ooh, woo. Yep,
That
and we had
see,
the character
those who
chart here.
realize their wishes, I think it would be, well, that does work, but it just I
Yeah.
probably would have written something pretty different. Eh,
She takes the middle road, gazing off into the far shores of eternity.
it works. It's not incorrect grammatically, but it just feels unnatural.
It's very much a artsy sentence. It's
For
not like
sure.
a proper sentence. It's very like flowy, which I mean, like it's befitting of the page and the character
Yeah.
and everything.
I think the
Um,
subtitles work extraordinarily well, that it's
yeah,
whenever you have it as the main title, that for some
yeah.
reason it just feels stilted.
So here's the article on Satellite Studio, showing here Michiaki Sato, Kazuki Akane.
And I think this
So
is why I think part of what makes the other titles and subtitles feel stilted sometimes is because that's marketing copy. What you have here, Michiaki Sato charts the company's rise from a digital effects contractor to a full-fledged animation studio, while director Kazuki Akane discusses the recent projects Gene Shaft and Hikai J. Though that is a perfectly written blurb. That
I'm pretty
doesn't feel
sure this
stilted
was
at
an
all.
article written for Newtype USA. That's why.
That, or I think that when it's not marketing copy, translation is able to be a bit looser and more
Well,
natural, whereas marketing copy, depending on how it works at the company, you might need to get certain levels of approvals for really any type of adjustment. And I feel
it's
like that's what
interesting
lends
just
itself
looking too,
to
because like,
the stilted translations. Whereas this, since it's not marketing for a product, this is just an article about the studio, that there's
yeah.
probably a bit more leeway in translation and also just the writing overall.
Now, see, it actually says here in the article that Japanese animation is primarily produced in Tokyo, or at any rate, I think 95% or so is concentrated in Tokyo, states Satellite's president Michiaki Sato. The majority of studios, he adds, tend to be situated along two train lines, the Chuo and Seibu Shinjuku, and indeed, they have been the ones taken by New Type USA to visit Bones, Production IG, Studio Yondoshi, and Gainax
That's a
previously for
really
the
well
Inside
translated
Theories.
quote. That's a
That's
really
because
well
this is an
translated quote.
article written by New Type USA.
Yeah. You might be right that I feel like that's something
Um,
that still could end up in an article for New Type Japan,
well, it's
but you might
interesting
be right
because you'll
about that
see
being
as
written
you look through
specifically.
here, uh, in this section here, it will say illustrated by, finished by, text by Arata Kano. So even the
Mm.
text in
Do
an
we have an
article like this,
author written for that interview?
yeah, in this case, it says text by Amos Wong. So this is a
Mm.
Newtype USA article.
Yep. Amos is, generally speaking, not going to be the name of somebody who is a Japanese national. Not
Yeah.
impossible, but statistically, Amos is
Yeah.
quite the American name.
Um, and it's interesting that they mentioned that they started off as a digital effects company and went to become an animation studio. Um, and they mentioned other things that they've worked on. Um, they it says here that Akane got his shot when he was directing Vision of Escaflowne at Sunrise.
Ha! How about that?
Yeah. And this is more of the article about the studio.
They go into a lot of
Um,
detail here that
it
this is
is a
something that I would have
big
loved to have
article,
read.
actually. Maybe I can scan these in. The thing is that this is not a standard size page. New Type was in these big, oversized magazines that
Oh, are we
do not fit.
talking, is this, Shonen Jump size?
No. Shonen Jump
Actually, this
size.
looks wider than Shonen Jump was.
No. Shonen Jump was about the size of your standard sheet of paper, like what, A11, I think it's called. The 8.5 by 11 size sheet of paper. Shonen Jump was like that, but thick, like a phone book every freaking month in the mail.
Yeah.
This is big. Like by comparison, um, if I just plop a DVD here onto the page for size comparison here, there's a DVD case in comparison to the actual page size. It is a big magazine.
Mm.
So it doesn't fit neatly onto a scanner. So I'd probably have to like photograph the pages or something like that with my phone.
Ooh.
But yeah, like this is quite the lengthy article. They had some great behind the scenes interviews and talking about like the industry when they had those parts. Here's one for Infinite Rivius, which was one of the giveaways, actually. Volume 1 of Infinite Rivius. Um, and it's illustrated by, finished by. So this is an article from Japan. It's got the uh, hiragana and kanji right here on there with the English subtitle.
Oh, dang. Infinite Rivius was directed by Goro Taniguchi, the director
Oh,
of Code Geass, and here's your reference.
boom. Well, wow. You mean we didn't have a reference from the beginning of the episode right away with because Gundam Seed is also very closely
Mm,
related to it as well.
fair, yes.
Um,
Speaking of,
yep, and more of Infinite Rivius here, showing off some mecha. And what do we have here?
the most
Osobot
powerful girl
Senki
group
Goku.
recorded in history, or in recorded history.
Currently airing on TV Tokyo at the time. I don't think this got licensed stateside. I do like her aesthetic though. I think she's cool looking.
What is the name of the series? Is it a
Uh,
Sobot Senki
a
Goku? Is that
Sobot
the name of the
Senki
series?
Goku. Yep.
That is, depending on where you put the emphasis on the syllable, that is
Quite
probably
the title.
deliberately done. I
Yeah.
I have to guess it was deliberate, but then again, that word wouldn't mean as much in
Well,
Japan, so I'm not
in
sure.
Japan, asobu, I believe. Oh, great. I'm like blanking out on freaking first year Japanese words. I believe asobi, like asobu is to play.
Mm,
So this would be like a playing robot, if I had to guess.
now, looking it up on Wikipedia, I find Monkey Typhoon, known in Japan as a Sobot Robot Goku, not even Senki Goku. So we have a
Huh.
weird partial translation, which ultimately ends up not being the final localized title.
Wow. Well, this that was part of this time period where there were um, marketing companies in Japan who would hold rights for Southeast Asia and abroad, who would insist on certain translated titles and names, their preferred localizations, which sometimes were far from the actual Japanese. I believe Sayuki is one of the situations where like Southeast Asia got a localized version of it that was nothing at all like the English
Okay. So
translation we would get.
looking this up on Wikipedia, first off,
Yep.
it never made it stateside in any
Yep.
format. It was not localized or translated as a manga or as an anime. But looking at the synopsis, it says Monkey Typhoon tells the story of three Autobots, a form of robots whose general title is a portmanteau of the words association and robot,
Association robot. Okay.
which ends up being the innuendo, which was probably unintended. But I find it interesting that we have the translated title of Monkey Typhoon despite the fact that it wasn't actually localized, which makes me wonder, was it between this and seeing that it had a localized title? My guess is that they were looking to have it localized, and it probably just didn't do well enough in Japan for them to do that final green light, but that they had things in place.
Yeah. It's definitely some choices. So is the big text right there.
The the way that they had the D, again, I assume this is not intentional, but boy howdy,
So I mean,
that this is.
technically that is the name of a character in this show, DN Angel.
Yes, but again, this is a very Japanese style of logo design, which makes a
Yep.
lot of sense in Japan. And you see this even to this day, where it is very
Yeah.
common that you will have certain kanji or katakana or hiragana blown up in some part of the word, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the end, that it helps create a style. And what we have here for we wanted is probably a direct translation. They're also missing the E before the D in wanted. It's just, or wait a minute.
No, I
Either
think
that or is it just we want D?
it's We Want D, I
Oh,
believe.
I am
Because
now entirely unsure of how accidental this was
yeah, that's why I'm saying like that
because I
is
could I could see this just being all right. We want D and Angel. That this is still a logical headline that you could have. At the same time, it is also entirely logical for someone to know exactly what they are doing and set this up for that very blatant innuendo. And I'm just so curious because we've had instances where this is a total accident. It's not
yeah.
intended and it just falls into place. And
I
I don't
mean,
know where this ends up.
I believe it's intentional because we have the main character Daisuke who turns into Dark Mousy. Both start with D, so I believe that that was intentional from Japanese
Well, I
literal
mean,
translation.
it's, but is it intended to be an innuendo is the question. That it's obviously intended that this is
Probably.
what they wrote, but to what degree do they realize what they are doing with what is beyond the literal text? Anyways,
Hmm. Anyways, yep, some more DNA Angel here. It's
Dark Mousy,
I
as you mentioned.
this this was very popular stateside due to a disgraced voice actor in the dub at the time.
Oh, oh, gotcha. I for a
Yeah,
moment was thinking that you were saying that uh, the voice actor was disgraced as that particular show was airing.
nope.
And I was like, oh, wow, that didn't
He's
happen a lot back in the day, but I can imagine exactly who it was and that they are certainly persona non grata today.
yep. This is certainly something that if it got re-released, they would not be reprising that role.
Yeah. I do like the formatting of Daisuke is not just a boy. I think that's actually
Hmm.
quite clever. That's
That is
good
some.
translation work right there.
That is also just some great text design.
Yeah. That's very clean, and that's
Um,
something that probably had to be translated or rather be designed as a translation. Uh, yeah, I like it. Very, very
Hmm.
well done.
Find your perfect DN boy. Who is the best match for you? Try not to worry too much about the really old characters for the non-human ones.
Yeah,
uh
classic personality test here.
yep. Um And then Sailor Moon, season 2 box set on sale from ADV Films, September 2003. Those were gorgeous box sets too. You can see it down there
Yeah,
in the
those
corner.
look like even by today's standards, that would be considered pretty clean. That
Yeah.
the only thing that makes me unsure is the coloring is a lot of the whiten that they don't have
It
much,
was
but
a
at the same time,
metallic
it's still
silver, actually.
oh, okay, and that just doesn't
Yeah.
okay,
The
never
the
mind,
white
that's
was a
clean.
metallic silver actually on them.
That's
So it
nice,
was the
that's
navy
cool.
blue with the bright yellow of the moon and then a metallic silver silhouette for Sailor Moon. They were
That's slick.
gorgeous box sets. But they only got the first 2 seasons. They only got Sailor Moon and Sailor Moon R. Um, I don't know why. It might have just been due to licensing back then
Oh,
because
yes,
I
and
believe Deke got Sailor Moon and Sailor Moon R, but then Sailor Moon S and Sailor Moon Supers were picked up and dubbed by a different company. And so, yeah, I think ADV only got the rights to like the first 52 episodes of Sailor Moon or something like that, like the first 2 seasons, and then couldn't get the rest of it.
mm, and here you see actually one of the most iconic changes and how you can really tell, 1, what era of Sailor Moon someone grew up with, but also to what degree are they aware of rebranding because it is a pretty soldiers saga and pretty soldier Sailor Moon, the Sailor Soldiers, that they
Yep.
used that word a lot, but in the 2014 re-release, they have canonically changed it, at least in terms of what is official terminology. It is pretty Guardian Sailor Moon.
Yeah,
They do not use the word soldier anymore.
because they used a literal translation of the word senshi.
Yep. Mhm. That again,
Um,
it makes perfect sense how it wound up as it did, and that we just have had, in general, better localization over the years. But that's one of the things of when a Sailor Moon fan talks about Sailor Moon, do they say pretty soldier? Do they say sailor soldier? Do they say sailor senshi? Or do they say sailor guardian?
yeah. I believe, most of the time now in translation, they keep it Sailor Senshi instead of Sailor Guardian, but I think that that's because Guardian's a bit of a mouthful
Well,
and doesn't,
everything that is official that comes out is guardian. But I will
true,
agree
but,
that in
I
terms
think
of
in
what
terms
the
of, like,
fandom uses,
dubbing and I think the fandom uses the word Senshi.
uh, they definitely never use the word senshi in the Viz dub. That they don't have any Japanese
Well,
terminology
no,
in their
no,
English translation.
not in the dub per se. I was just saying, like, uh, I know that the fandom uses the word senshi
Yes,
because, like,
yeah,
I know people who are huge Sailor Moon fans, or
yes,
as
that's
some
what
of
I've
them,
seen as well, mostly in terms of
yeah,
unofficial stuff of what people will use in conversation. That I hear senshi much more than soldier. And for soldier versus guardian, I think we're at the point where I do hear guardian more than soldier, but soldier still is said. But senshi is, I think, where the fandom at large, at least in the West, has really landed.
yeah. So we got here a thing explaining how it was originally produced by Deke. So they got specifically Sailor Moon and Sailor Moon R. They did not get the others. Um, they mentioned SOS Save Our Sailors was the
That's pretty good.
fan campaign online that tried to pick up Sailor Moon and get it brought back. 1997 returned to syndicated TV, picked up by USA Network, but USA got sold. I think they got sold to their current owners, NBC Universal, which is now Comcast. But back then, USA had a block of cartoons on Saturdays. The Cartoon Express and Sailor Moon was on it at one point. And yeah, then eventually wound up on Cartoon Network as well for Toonami.
And also just a
Um,
ton of local broadcast.
oh yeah, no, that was my exposure to it was back in the syndicated days, watching Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball and
Now, a
Power
very interesting
Rangers.
thing on that page,
Mhm.
the bolding of the title, that it's not uncommon when you see titles being referred to in articles that it will be italicized, but the fact that
Yeah.
they have Sailor Moon bolded every time is an interesting design choice, not an unreasonable one, but that's something
Yeah.
that I look at and say, "Oh, it's not necessarily what I consider to be modern sensibilities,
Yeah.
but it certainly not the strangest thing we see in terms of the layout of this magazine."
Yeah. Also of note is because this was before the re-release, redub of everything. Um, it has all of your character names. Sailor Moon, aka Serena, English. Utsagi
Ah,
Tsukino,
yes, the
Japanese.
classic.
So we have Serena, Ray, who is Ray in Japan.
Mhm.
Amy, who is Ami. Uh,
Yes, these
Mina,
names
who
have
is
been
Minako.
purged in terms of what is
And
considered official
then
canon.
the biggest change, in my opinion, aside from, I mean, I feel like Usagi becoming Serena was a very good choice on their part, very fitting choice.
I will agree that,
Like
for
the serenity of the moon and whatnot.
mhm, and also just there's not many quote unquote American names that start with U. And
Yeah,
that is something that they very much tried to do back in the day, which was very logical. That I consider the name translations, while nowadays it might be considered a bit of a meme, I think the name translations were one of the best parts of localizations because I
oh,
do
I
fully agree.
loved Jupiter's English name, Lita. I thought that that was such a good choice too.
That, if
But
anything, feels the strangest because that's the one that is what I would
farthest
call least
removed.
yeah. But I have spoken many times and said 4 Kids, I think, is perhaps not the savior, but heavily responsible for why anime is as big as it is, and that extends to this, that while the localization sensibilities then are not what they are now, I think that they were
Yeah,
correct for the time. I don't look back
yeah,
on them and say, "The what were you thinking?" That
yeah.
this was still all entirely logical, and I think for the best at the time. Now what is
So
this? The Egg of
uh,
Toto?
a tree of palm, which apparently was in theaters in Japan, released by original and soundtracks on sale in Japan from Victor Entertainment. Um, yeah, this is just a movie that aired in theaters in Japan back in 2003. Um, Many of the creators who worked on Jinro and Katsuhiro Otomo's Memories also worked on this,
Hmm.
which I can see that. It
Looking on
does kind of look a
Wikipedia,
lot
a
like
tree of palm can be seen as a distant allusion to the adventures of Pinocchio.
I can see that. I can see that, which is funny because Katsuhiro Otomo's Memories itself was also I want to say it was a tie into it was the creator of Akira's homage. Oh wait, no, that was I think that was Metropolis. But Katsuhiro Otomo did Metropolis, which itself I think was a prequel to Astro Boy. It was an homage to it. So, but yeah. Up next here we have Tales of Eternia. Wow.
That's some classic shoujo right there.
Classic video game, actually, from Bandai or
Oh,
Bandai or Namco rather.
well, the art reeks of shoujo, and I do mean that in the best of ways.
Well, the Tales of series is long running, starting
Oh,
originally
yeah.
on the
It's
Super
still done
Nintendo,
today.
still going to this day. Yep. In fact, fun fact: bunch of people broke off from the studio that makes Tales to form Tri-Ace, who are the people responsible for the Star Ocean franchise.
Ah, that scans.
Yep. So yeah, Tales of Eternia. We have an ad here for uh something from Central Park Media, Spirit Warrior Revival of Evil
What
from the
catches my
director.
eye, oh, there's 2 things on this page that really catch my eye. The first is in the lower left corner, cat soup.
Uh that was a freaking acid trip of a movie. Wow. Plus it had a really cool DVD box actually.
And I'm looking
Um
this one up that, this was actually a short. It was only 34 minutes, not even a full movie,
yeah.
about an anthropomorphic kitten on his travel to the land of the dead and back in order to save his sister's soul. Released direct to DVD in Japan in February 21. Central Park Media licensed the film in North America. Good Lord, Central Park Media. And
Uh,
released it under its Software Sculptors label, released on DVD in September 2003. And speaking of Central Park Media, what also catches my eye in the lower right-hand corner, Big
Big
Apple
Apple
Anime
Anime
Fest.
Fest.
Yeah,
I
baby.
always wanted to go to that too.
The spiritual predecessor to Anime NYC and the local con of Mario and Peter and many other friends of the channel. So that just seeing Big Apple Anime Fest, if you know, you know, that is such an artifact of there's many conventions that have come and gone. And I
Yeah.
feel like the ripple effect of Big Apple Anime Fest is one that most people who aren't in the industry don't realize, because when Big Apple Anime Fest shuttered, it left New York freaking City in a lurch without a anime convention for nearly a decade. And it's just so wild to me that it took so long, but it's in some ways perhaps not too unreasonable because of how expensive New York City can
Mm,
be, but it's still very
yeah.
interesting in that those who know about Big Apple Anime Fest, one, it means that you had to have been around for a while, or that you are in the industry and that you know people who are in it. Because I didn't know about Big Apple Anime Fest. Obviously, I got into anime fandom relatively late, but
Mm,
since one from Mario, but also working with the folks at Left Field Media, Peter Tatera, who now actually works for a different company running the largest Japanese film festival in North America. So not too
mm,
far removed and still on good terms with Left Field Media. But it's a lot of people cut their teeth at Big Apple Anime Fest.
mm. Of note on the other page, Sumeba Miyako no Cosmoso Sutoko Taisen Dokoida, which
Boy,
Dokoida
we
was.
did not bother trying to translate this one at all, did we?
Well, this is in Japan right now, which is why it's not translated. And Dokoida did make it stateside. But of note down here at the very bottom, I noticed here animation production, Ufotable.
Hey,
Yeah, this is a very early Ufotable production. Up here,
and
Ayori
this is
Aochi
a
and
bunch of
Nishi.
other stuff in, like it says in the corner, Japan now, hence why we are not getting these translations even
I
attempted.
mean, I mean, hell, Ayori Aoshi, we did get that stateside.
True.
um,
And
and
interesting that that one never really did get localized as a title, that it just kept Iori Aoshi.
yeah, um, Chichana Yukitsukai Sugar Tokubetsu Hen. Um, I think that's I think that might have been like a spinoff from Snow Fairy Sugar. I'm not sure. Kimi ga Nozomu AN, Razafon on the PS2, Guitar o Motta Shonen, Kekaider versus Inazuman. I wish we had gotten that. That like, uh, that's Shitari Shinamori. That is the creator of Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. You know, just do
Oh, okay. I was like, why does this one have relevance to Jace? Why is he calling this one out Kamen Rider? Of course.
Kikaider and Inazuman. Kikaider, Sony released the OVAs for Kikaider stateside. They aired on Adult Swim's Saturday nights back in the mid 2000s. It was some good stuff. Very much your typical, Pinocchio, like the same stuff that we're exploring even with Gene of AI now. Can something mechanical have a soul, type of thing, but superhero style because he transforms into his robot form and fights.
We are starting to run low
Um,
on time, so we're going to have to
yeah, so we're
blitz through
gonna
some of
kind
the
of
last of this. Just we've
yeah, we're
got
gonna
Tenchi
kind of blast through
Muyo,
here.
which ends up being one of the most relevant of these Japan Now titles this month in anime history. Oh,
Oh,
September
huh,
1963 was when
Lark and
Astro Boy.
Seal. Boom. They're still relevant to this day, as the vocalist Hyde is in the supergroup The Last Rock Stars. Let's see here.
Broly.
Australia Roundup, UK Roundup, Suncoast, advertising Broly movie. Um, uh, an actual article from the Japanese Newtype with one of the artists from Clamp.
Yes, I do remember this from the previous Newtype magazines that we've gone through, that
Yep.
these are really interesting articles. These are some of the best written things that,
This
despite
one
the
here
very
about,
plain, this is a, no real
yeah,
layout here. It's just white background and you have the columns of text. But I do
yep,
remember that these were actually some of the meatiest things that they compressed into the smallest space, and that these were not the eye catchers, but the ones that I think actually would probably hold up the best today. And
yeah.
I'm not gonna read through this, but I do remember that these were actual pages of value.
Might be something we could go back and do like side videos later on, actually like
Yeah, heck,
reading these articles
we
aloud
could
and
do full
whatnot.
episodes on these articles, I think. Not
Yeah.
necessarily one
I
episode
mean,
per article, but we could probably do an episode of DEE Kai just
this is
reading these 4 articles that we had here.
this is a favorite subject of mine right here. Bosazoku. It's Japanese biker punks. Uh Anime corner store.
Robert's
Here's the
Anime
manga
Corner
section.
Store.
Here's the manga section featuring Angel Dust, and it's even on a different
I was going to say
quality
that
paper.
looks like the not quite newsprint, but that looks like
Yeah.
the manga paper that's not magazine paper.
Yep, which they used for their manga inserts.
Mhm.
Um, Flip through
I
here
have to
to
wonder what that did for production costs. Was it cheaper paper, or is the mere fact that you are binding multiple types of paper in a printer going to cause a difference
yeah,
and
it's
just increase your cost?
definitely interesting because they were like everything from like a postcard section to a centerfold that pulled out, like all sorts of stuff in every issue. Here's New Type USA, get a free T-shirt with your subscription. The
Hey,
giveaway card. Final Fantasy Unlimited. I owned that at one point. Oh God, it was something. Uh, I just say watch Mother's Basement's whole video about like the failed Final Fantasy
mm,
anime. I think he put it out like a few weeks ago. It was definitely something. This actually, Digicharet, uh, had a recent anime, Reiwa no
I remember
Digicharet.
seeing that in one of our seasonal previews. I can't remember which one, but that is a
Yep.
name that rings a bell from something more recent.
Fun fact: the English dub voice of Dejiko is the same voice as Haruhara Haruko from Fooly Cooly.
Ha!
At least in that dub from way back when. You know, here we have the 12 Kingdoms, uh, Volume 1 on sale from Media Blasters. Uh, Everything Espinosa. So this is about a American artist, heavily inspired by manga. Usagi Yojimbo. So this, of course, is relatively relevant to now, considering closely associated with Ninja Turtles, um,
Huh.
from the artist Stan Sakai. Usagi Yojimbo has appeared in Ninja Turtles merchandise and even crossed over into different Ninja Turtle cartoons over the years.
Dot
Dot
hack, of course.
hack, dot hack, part 3, outbreak.
Hmm, very nice. Right
uh,
on hand.
yeah,
All
my
right. And
collection's sitting next to me, flipping
and
through here.
closing things out, just a couple more articles. Lone Wolf
Lone Wolf
2100.
X, that's sitting next to me.
Not
um,
to be confused with Mysterious Girlfriend X.
let's see here. His and Her Circumstances DVD box set. Zion, wish you were here. Um, Tomorrow's comic book superstars are here today. So this is about Western comics, focusing on different artists.
And this is interesting. That's
Um,
something that you didn't have in every new type, a
yeah,
blatant American comic crossover. I can see why they would have it. It's very relevant.
yeah.
But that's neat that they have that as
Uh,
a uh, different thing. Habanai Renmei is a series I wound up watching most of a while back at the recommendation of a friend, and that's a
Yeah,
series that didn't land well stateside. It's very interesting though.
yeah. It was dark and it was good, but yeah, it's definitely
That
I
is
wouldn't
not
mind seeing a
what I would
remaster,
that's one that
actually.
I look at and say it's not that's not starter level media. That is not a show for children.
Yeah. Of course, showing here the box set from Sailor Moon R gives you a better view of the
Mm.
spines there. Sayuki, one of my all-time favorites. Um,
Now we
so
have
another ad
the
for Suncoast Universal
listings
D.
for
Voice actor
Animeland. Oh,
Spotlight.
huh. Yeah, I remember this said you have all the different
Yep.
listings in Japan.
Currently
Mm.
airing in Japan. Anything interesting here? Just kind of flip through it
Now
real
you
quick.
have the listings that this is all the new
Top
DVD
sales in
releases.
Japan.
Yep. Something that
Um,
really never
Upcoming conventions in the
conventions.
States.
Hey.
YowieCon in California. No Brand Con. I wonder if some of these still. I mean,
Oh, I
some of them
assume most of
definitely
these
do
do.
because
Some of them.
Anime Boston, Bakaretsu, Anime Central. A lot of them still do exist. Anime Detour. Um, but here we go.
Yeah,
Here,
now just more of
what's
what's airing
on
right now. This is
TV in
sort of the
Japan? Uh,
extended version of that list a couple
that
pages back.
that Astro Boy series did come stateside and aired on Kids WB. Actually,
Hmm.
um, Happy Lesson. I mentioned that like a while back. I remember that one. Get Backers, another one that I really enjoyed back in the day. Um,
Kaleido Star.
Kaleido Star, Inuyasha, of course, was still airing uh, its original run
Oh,
over
here's an
there.
interesting one. Konojijiki no Gash Bell.
Konjiki no Gash Bell, aka Zatch Bell.
Zatch Bell.
I still love that dub because you had Dave Wittenberg, also known as the announcer for the dub of Ninja Warrior on G4, and Richard Horvitz, aka Invader Zim, and Daggett from Angry Beavers, Alpha 5, among others, played the duo of Parco Fulgore and Conchome, which years later I would learn the pun in Conchome's name having to do with Concho.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was something. Actually, and even notable right here, Kamen Rider Fies. It's live action sneaking in here. They didn't mention Super Sentai, but they mentioned Kamen Rider.
Just
Hey, Shin
continue.
Megami Tensei Devil Children.
Pocket
Uh,
Monster Advance.
yep. Sonic X. That was before, of course, poor kids TV would get that. Uh, Naruto was only on episode 37 through 40 at the time.
One Piece on episode 158, already making its strides and showing that it has legs.
Yeah.
Long, rubbery legs.
Uh, um, Hantai Gakuin
Now finally getting
Q,
to what's on TV in the US.
Cubics.
Cubics
Just,
robots for everyone.
oh
Good
my
lord.
God.
I remember
Uh,
watching this all the time because it was on immediately prior to Yu-Gi-Oh!
yeah. I remember the CGI. Apparently,
It
it was a
sure
South
was
Korean
early.
animation.
It sure was some early 2000s CGI.
And of course, of note is literally TV listings, as we
Yep.
had mentioned last time. ABC Family, the successor to Fox Kids and Fox Family. Fox Box was already a thing in 2003. International Channel was where I was watching Slayers for the first time and watching the Boo Saga before it aired on freaking Toonami.
Oh, that had to be a trip.
Yeah, no, I was watching it with no subtitles. I had no clue what was
Ooh.
going on.
You don't need a subtitle to understand fists.
That actually sounds like the great subtitle to like describe DBZ right there.
Yeah. Hmm.
Of course, my favorite ad of all time, subscribe now or the Menchie gets it.
Oh, how dare you? Yes, and I think this gets us
Uh,
just about to the end here. That
yeah, we have our fan art
couple letters to the
section.
editor. Yep, fan art.
Uh, ooh, lots of fan art.
Wonder how
Anime
many
on
people.
campus. That's what made me want to go to college, was reading this article and going, there are anime clubs in college? Not a good idea to go to college,
Ah,
really, just
Concord.
for anime con
Oh wow,
or
this is
anime
Anime Expo.
anime expo
Oof,
20 years
the
ago.
big mama of them all, and just
Yeah.
oh boy.
Uh So we got like everything from regular cosplay to just people dressing up as Visual K and stuff. Super Gals. Evangelion got its box set back then. Evangelion was set in 2015.
Oof.
Yeah.
And I
Hajime
think
no
this is the last
Ippo.
bits
Yeah, this
here.
is literally
And what a
things
journey
coming out.
though for 2003 September, and just the world of anime as it was, and how far we've come. I
Some
do
stuff on
always
games here.
enjoy these
Karaoke
retrospectives.
Revolution.
I feel bad having to rush us through the end of the magazine like this because
I mean,
we
hell.
get caught. Oh my god. Oh my
Oh yeah,
god.
Dirty Pair or Magica Blitz Tactics? Because
Najica
that right
in the
there.
yeah, that's what caught my eye. Najica Blitz Tactics having as its inbox promo item is a pair of promotional panties.
Actually,
Things that would
of
not
note
fly today.
nowadays, nope. I mean, boom, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, always interesting to see what was coming out back
Kung
then.
Fu. Oh my god.
Yeah,
We need to get
yeah,
going, so we can't do a dive into that. I am curious about
yeah.
that. Oh dear.
God, Red Octane DDR pads. God, I always wanted one of those.
Classic. Yes. But this is
Yuki Kajura. Didn't
uh
we do a whole episode on
oh
Yuki
yeah.
Kajura too?
That yep.
Yeah. So,
Definitely a name that
uh,
is still relevant today.
oh
And
yeah,
like I was saying, we could spend multiple episodes on these. Hey, Haruhi Suzumiya, there we go.
yeah, I know, right?
So I'm glad that you kept all of these, Jace, because they are such a fun, different thing to explore and remember the things that we did enjoy, or just find
Yeah.
different titles that we might not have been aware
Hey,
of that
horoscope
didn't
section.
stand the test of time, and being able to
Yeah,
actually have this basically an artifact of being able to actually look back and see everything from which titles to the font, the formatting, the layouts, the companies that have come and gone. Here we have G4,
before.
and that being one of their old logos. And even that
Yeah,
of just,
their first logo.
Kinokuniya, seeing the old logos that they had back in the
Yeah,
day.
and EB Games down there in the corner too.
Mhm. So thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, we are here every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, all that jazz here on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And on YouTube, you can see the trailer for Kokoro no Pro, our upcoming visual novel that is being headed up by RJ and Mario. We are going to have happy hour coming up in just a bit. You can check out our friends Image Anime at imageanime.com and use the code DESCOUNTSHIP, that is DEESCOUNTSHIP, for free shipping on orders of $100 or more. And you can get Digital Era Entertainment merchandise from merch.streamelements.com/Digital Era Entertainment. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, stay safe, stay sane, and we will see you next time on Digital Era Twitch.
Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us across social media for updates. Thanks for watching!